There are some moments in life that change you forever. Sometimes they happen in broad daylight, obvious, unmistakable. But the truly terrifying ones? They creep up on you in the dead of night, in the quiet when you least expect them. It was supposed to be just another evening, the usual routine. Lock the doors, check the windows, turn off the lights. But then the knocking started. Soft at first, almost hesitant, then louder and louder. I should have ignored it. I should have pretended I wasn't home. But curiosity, or maybe something darker, made me look through the peephole. What I saw on the other side of that door still haunts me to this day, because the person knocking was me. It was one of those days where everything seemed to pile up at once. Boxes were everywhere, stacked against walls, half unpacked on the floor, their contents spilling out like secrets waiting to be discovered. Moving had been exhausting, both physically and mentally. My mind felt like a jumble of wires, trying to untangle itself from the chaos of unpacking furniture, setting up utilities, and adjusting to this new place that wasn't quite home yet. I paused mid-lift, wiping sweat from my brow with the back of my hand when the doorbell rang. The sound startled me. It was sharp and unexpected, cutting through the quiet hum of activity in the house. Setting down the box I'd been carrying, I wiped my hands on my jeans and headed toward the front door. When I opened it, there he was, a young man, maybe mid-20s, wearing a crisp blue-collared shirt emblazoned with the words, Pristine Alarms. His smile was bright, almost too perfect, as if it had been rehearsed dozens of times before. He carried himself with an air of confidence, his posture straight, his expression friendly but professional. "Hello, sir," he began, extending a hand. "Have you upgraded your alarm system recently?" For a moment, I just stared at him, confused. Upgraded? We didn't even have an alarm system yet. This was our first week in the house, after all. Before I could respond, though, I caught myself and forced a polite grin onto my face. "We actually don't currently have one installed," I said, shaking his hand briefly. "We just moved in." His eyes lit up and his smile widened, if possible, even more than before. "Talk about perfect timing," he exclaimed, leaning forward slightly, as if sharing some great secret. "My name is Matt, and I work for Pristine Alarms. We specialize in home security, doorbell cameras, interior cameras, exterior cameras, automatic locks, alarm systems. You name it, everything to keep you and your family safe." Safe. The word hung in the air between us for a second, sinking in slowly. It wasn't that I doubted the neighborhood's safety. It seemed fine so far, but something about the idea of having extra protection appealed to me. Still, my brain was fried. Between the move, the kids adjusting to their new school, and my upcoming promotion, which required relocating here, I barely had room to think about anything beyond basic survival. "I appreciate the offer, Matt," I replied, forcing another smile. "But we've got so much going on right now. I don't really have the mental capacity to think about this." Matt nodded understandingly, his enthusiasm undiminished. "I completely understand," he said. "Feel free to think about it, and if you have any questions, contact me. Here's my card. It's got my personal number on it. If you're interested, just give me a call, and we can set you up." He handed me a small white card, his name and number printed neatly across the front. Then, without waiting for further response, he gave a quick wave and turned away, disappearing down the driveway. I stood there for a moment, watching him leave, before shutting the door behind me. That night, during dinner, a hastily ordered fast food meal eaten around the kitchen island, we discussed Matt's visit. My wife sat across from me, her expression thoughtful as she listened to my recounting of the conversation. "I mean," she mused aloud, twirling a strand of hair around her finger, "this is a pretty safe neighborhood, but I wouldn't mind getting an alarm system. It would give us peace of mind when we're not home or when we're sleeping." She had a point. As much as I hated admitting it, the thought of knowing we were protected, even if only by a few cameras and a keypad, was appealing. Plus, considering how stressful the past few weeks had been, anything that promised even a shred of calm seemed worth exploring. "Yeah," I agreed, nodding slowly. "You're not wrong, honey. It would put us at ease. I'll call the guy tomorrow and see when we can set it up." And with that, the decision was made. The next morning, during breakfast, I grabbed my phone and dialed the number on Matt's card. To my surprise, he answered after just one ring. Hello, this is Matt with Pristine Alarms. How can I help you? His voice was cheerful, full of energy, as though he'd been waiting for this call all day. Hey Matt, I started, clearing my throat. This is Phil Wheeler. You stopped by yesterday. I'm over on Harmony Avenue. Oh yes, Matt interrupted, his tone shifting instantly to recognition. Of course, just moved in, right? How can I help you, Phil? Well, I continued, glancing at the notes I'd scribbled down earlier. After talking it over with my other half, we decided we need an alarm system. We feel safe enough here, but a little added security won't hurt. Excellent choice, Matt responded enthusiastically. Since you just moved in, let me offer you a discount. A discount? I repeated, raising an eyebrow. That hadn't been part of the initial pitch. Absolutely, he confirmed. Here's what I'm thinking. 2 interior cameras for the main living area and hallway, 2 exterior cameras for the front and back sides of the house, 2 automatic locks for the front and back doors, a doorbell camera, and a keypad. All for $500. $500. It wasn't cheap, especially when combined with the monthly service fee he mentioned offhandedly. But then came the kicker. And guess what? Matt added, his voice dripping with excitement. I'll waive the monthly fee, just the initial cost and no ongoing expenses. We want to make sure you choose us. Wow. For a moment I was speechless. $500 up front wasn't exactly pocket change, but compared to similar systems I'd researched online, it was a steal, and the lack of recurring fees sealed the deal. Deal, I blurted out, unable to hide my relief. I really appreciate this, Matt. When can we set up the installation? I just have to make sure someone is... How does right now sound? Matt interrupted again, his eagerness palpable. I just had a cancellation and I'm not too far away. I can come by right now and start the install. I should have all the items I promised in the work van. Right now? Seriously? Part of me wanted to protest, to suggest scheduling for later in the week when things might be less hectic. But then I remembered, today was my last day off before starting my new job. If I waited, who knew when I'd find the time? Yeah, that would be amazing, I stammered, still processing the suddenness of it all. This works out perfectly. Awesome, Matt exclaimed. I'll see you soon, Phil. True to his word, Matt arrived within 5 minutes. By the time I heard the crunch of tires on gravel outside, I was already standing at the door, watching as a sleek white van pulled up alongside the curb. Sure enough, Matt hopped out, waving enthusiastically as he approached. I'm going to start on the front and back cameras, he explained, hoisting a ladder over his shoulder, along with a tool belt and a large case containing what looked like a camera. Then I'll move on to the interior. If you have any errands to run, feel free. This is going to take me a while. Errands? Actually, now that he mentioned it, I did have a few things to take care of. The kids were at school and my wife was at work, meaning I had a rare window of opportunity to knock a few tasks off my list. Deciding to take advantage of the situation, I grabbed my keys and headed out. As I drove toward the post office, I couldn't shake the nagging feeling that something about Matt seemed off. Not necessarily suspicious, but certainly unusual. For starters, why had he shown up so quickly? And how was he planning to handle the entire installation by himself? These weren't questions I could answer, so I pushed them aside and focused on my own responsibilities. By the time I returned home, Matt was already putting the ladder away. He greeted me warmly, his demeanor as upbeat as ever. All right, Phil, he announced, jogging toward me as I stepped out of the car. The exterior is done, including the doorbell camera. I'm ready to move on to the interior whenever you are. Great, I replied, leading him inside. Follow me and let me know if you need anything. With that, I left him to his work while heading to the office to tackle another task. Painting. Starting tomorrow, I'd officially begin my new job, which meant I needed to get this space ready ASAP. As I worked, I lost track of time, immersing myself in the rhythmic motion of applying paint to walls. Somewhere in the middle of the second coat, I heard Matt calling out from somewhere else in the house. Hey Phil, he shouted. All done, just have to install the app on your phone, and you'll be able to access the cameras, keypad, and locks directly from your device. Awesome, I called back, stepping back to admire my progress. Thanks again. Is there somewhere I can leave you a review or call your boss or anything? You've been great, and I'd love to rave about you. Matt hesitated, turning to face me with a strange look in his eyes. No, that's all right, he said finally. Just doing my job. Okay, weird. But hey, everyone has their quirks, right? What's the app? I asked, brushing off the odd exchange. May I? Matt held out his hand expectantly. Without thinking, I handed over my phone. After all, I trusted him. He'd already proven himself capable and reliable. Within seconds, he downloaded the app and handed it back. All set, he declared proudly. I put the app on your home screen. Click the big blue PA icon, and it'll bring you to your doorbell camera. You can cycle through each camera by clicking the camera icon. Your door can be unlocked with a push of the lock icon, and your keypad can be used by, you guessed it, clicking the keypad icon. I set your default code to your house number. To set it, just hit set and then the code. To turn it off, hit off and then the code. Pretty simple. Feel free to change it anytime. This is great, I told him sincerely. Thanks again, Matt. I'll be sure to spread the word to all the neighbors. Matt froze mid-step, his expression darkening slightly. No, he muttered, shaking his head. I already dealt with most of the neighborhood, so please don't mention me. What a weirdo. But again, I chalked it up to personal preference and sent him off with a wave. Later that evening, after showing my wife and kids the newly installed system, I settled into bed, exhausted but satisfied. Tomorrow would mark the beginning of my new chapter, and despite the lingering stress of the move, I felt optimistic about the future. Unfortunately, optimism only lasts so long. A few hours into sleep, I woke abruptly to the sound of a blaring siren. At first, I thought I was dreaming. Then reality crashed down around me, and I bolted upright, heart racing. What was happening? Throwing off the covers, I rushed to the bedroom door, scanning the hallway for signs of intrusion. Nothing. No intruder, no visible threat. Still, the alarm continued its deafening wail. Desperate to silence it, I stumbled toward the keypad located near the front door. Following Matt's instructions, I hit the off button and entered our house number. Access denied. Confused, I tried again. Same result. Behind me, my wife stirred, groggy but alarmed. What's going on? She demanded, rubbing her eyes. I don't know, I admitted, frustration mounting. It won't turn off. It keeps saying access denied. Let me try, she suggested, stepping forward. She repeated the process, hitting the off button and entering the code. Miraculously, the siren stopped. Stunned, I stared at her. How did you do that? I asked, bewildered. I dunno, she shrugged, equally perplexed. Maybe you entered it wrong? Maybe, or maybe something else entirely. The following morning, I resolved to address the issue head-on. On my way to work, I called Matt, explaining the problem and requesting assistance. True to form, he answered immediately. That's strange, he mused. I can come by and check it out. Maybe run a few tests. Great, I said. Is anyone home right now? I have some time before my first job. Yes, I confirmed, calling my wife to inform her of Matt's impending arrival. She sounded annoyed but resigned, muttering something about having to change out of her pajamas. 5 minutes later, I received a notification on my phone. Someone was at the front door. Pulling up the app, I checked the doorbell camera. Sure enough, it was Matt. Impressive turnaround time, I thought, marveling at his efficiency. On my lunch break, I called home to check in. Hey, honey, my wife greeted me warmly. How's your first day? It's good, darling, I replied. How's yours? Did Matt fix the problem? He's actually still here, she replied, her tone tinged with concern. Said there was some sort of software issue. Software issue? That didn't add up. Installing everything had taken him less than 3 hours yesterday. Why was fixing a minor glitch taking so much longer? Telling my wife I'd call her back, I dialed Matt's number. No answer. I tried again. Still nothing. Where was he? Deciding to investigate further, I pulled up the app and cycled through the cameras. The front camera showed his van parked outside. Inside, my wife lounged comfortably on the couch, seemingly unaware of whatever Matt was up to elsewhere in the house. Switching to the hallway camera, I scanned the footage carefully. No sign of him. That's when I saw it, or rather him, exiting our bedroom. What in the world? I whispered, stunned. Without hesitation, I called my wife. What's wrong? She answered immediately, sensing my distress. What is he doing in our room? What are you talking about? She countered, confusion evident in her voice. He's by the keypad. No, he's not, I insisted. I just saw him walking out of our room. Before she could respond, my phone buzzed with an incoming call. "Matt, what in the world do you think you're doing walking around my house?" I snapped, answering immediately. "Phil, I don't appreciate you talking to me that way," Matt retorted coolly. "For your information, I was installing window sensors. I felt it was the least I could do given the inconvenience of the alarm going off last night." "Oh," I stammered, momentarily deflated. Sorry. It just looked, well, it looked strange. You coming out of the bedroom like that. Are you watching me, Phil?" Matt chuckled darkly. "Good to know the cameras work well. Don't be concerned, the alarm is working perfectly now, and your wife was great company. I'll head out now. Enjoy your day, Phil." And with that, he hung up. Over the next few days, life settled into a semblance of normalcy. Work was going well, the kids were adapting to their new environment, and the alarm system functioned flawlessly, or so we thought. Until the night my wife and I decided to treat ourselves to a date night. Dinner at a fancy steakhouse seemed like the perfect way to unwind after weeks of stress. We dressed up, laughed, shared stories, and reveled in the simplicity of being together. That's when my phone buzzed. Front door unlocked. Confused, I glanced at my wife, holding up the device for her to see. She immediately called the kids, verifying that they hadn't touched the door. Checking the cameras revealed nothing unusual, at least until another notification popped up. Back door unlocked. Something was very wrong. Then came the third alert. Motion detected at the front door. Cycling through the cameras, I spotted it, or rather him. Matt's van sat idling in the driveway. A cold chill ran down my spine. Motion detected at the back door. I switched views, confirming my worst fears. There he was, standing casually by the back entrance. Back door unlocked. Front door unlocked. Panicking, I told my wife we needed to leave immediately. Grabbing the check, we fled the restaurant, racing home as fast as we dared. Arriving at the house, we found police already present. Relieved but shaken, we explained everything to the officers, who assured us they'd handle the situation. Unfortunately, searching for Pristine Alarms yielded zero results. Not an app, not a website, not even a phone number. Without concrete evidence, the authorities advised us to stay in a hotel temporarily while they investigated further. The next morning, my wife and kids stayed behind, attempting to resume normalcy amidst the lingering tension. Meanwhile, I faced a dilemma. I still had to go to work. With limited paid time off accumulated thus far, skipping wasn't an option. Leaving the hotel, however, presented its own challenges, namely retrieving my laptop, which I'd accidentally left behind in my home office. Driving home, I braced myself for trouble. Running upstairs, I sprinted to the office, only to hear the alarm blaring once more. Desperately, I attempted to disable it using the keypad. Again and again, I entered the code. Each attempt ended in failure. Access denied. Suddenly, the siren ceased. My phone rang. Answering, I recognized Matt's voice instantly. "Hi there, Phil," he greeted cheerfully. "I see you're home. Where were you last night? I wanted to come say hi to you and the wife, but no one was here after the cops left." Silence stretched between us, broken only by the pounding of my pulse in my ears. "Phil, I can see you on the camera," Matt continued, his tone light but menacing. "You look tense. Relax, bud. I'm just making sure everything is all right. I just want to make sure everything is working as intended." "Who are you?" I growled, fury bubbling beneath the surface. "Pristine Alarms isn't even a real company." "Come on now, Philly," Matt chided mockingly. "I work hard at my job." "Listen, you need to leave my family alone," I said firmly. "I just want to make sure you're safe," he replied smugly before hanging up. Seconds later, another notification flashed across my screen. Front door unlocked. Adrenaline surged through me as I stormed toward the entrance, prepared to confront whoever or whatever awaited beyond. Reaching the threshold, I froze. The back door swung open violently, revealing Matt standing there, bat raised high above his head. Before I could react, he struck. Pain exploded across my ribs, knocking the wind from my lungs. Collapsing to the ground, I fought back instinctively, managing to land a solid kick to his knee. He dropped the bat, giving me precious seconds to scramble to my feet. "Don't move," a voice barked sharply. Neighbors must have called the police. Officers poured into the house, guns drawn, shouting commands. Matt, seeing his opportunity slipping away, snatched his phone and bolted out the back door. Despite their best efforts, the officers failed to apprehend him. Breathing heavily, I relayed the events to the authorities, detailing every interaction with Matt since his initial visit. They promised to continue investigating, though hope remained slim without definitive proof of his identity. Later that evening, driven by desperation, I ventured outside, approaching the mysterious white van parked discreetly down the street. Opening the rear doors, I discovered a makeshift control center inside. Monitors displaying live feeds from every camera in my house, buttons corresponding to every feature of the alarm system. Why? Why had he become so obsessed with us? My phone buzzed again, interrupting my thoughts. Answering, I heard Matt's familiar voice one final time. "Looks like everything is in working order," he said smoothly. "Please call me if you need any more help, Phil."